Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of FM with Around the World. I'm joined here by my co-host, and we also have a guest appearance of WiredCats Omega. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Zainab, I think you have the first question.
Yes. So first of all, we want to ask, what is the story behind your team? Like, how was it founded?
John, you want to answer that?
I can handle it.
Okay.
Pretty much, we originally had an FTC team. I forgot the name, but we had a completely different number and theme. But after a little while, that was about 9 years ago by this point, we decided to, or I guess our now alumni decided to make a FTC team 6222, which is not our team. And they ended up being successful enough to, after a few years, get two more FTC teams, which was 910, us, and 10022, our sister team at this point. We were mostly formed as just kind of a place where the alumni now would be able to go to and like not just kind of build robots, but also have a community to help them learn and just to have a community in general that would support them. I think that has at the very least persisted throughout the years, if not grown.
Yeah, we have a very tight-knit community, but we always like to welcome new people.
Well, thank you for that. I think the second question, Arda, you can go.
Okay, so I wanna ask you, what is FTC and what are some basic differences between FRC and FTC?
So for us, we have a lot of people that do both FTC and FRC. So it's not really a person difference. It's mostly like what we do, but we also like to carry a lot of our tactics from FRC to FTC, like our planning through 3D modeling ahead of time, our machining skills and the materials we use. Especially last year, you can see that our robots looked a lot like our FRC robots in the past. So we're trying to combine the technical skills and kind of stuff that we do with FRC to FTC. The main difference we really have between those two are some of the people in there. Of like, not everyone in FTC is in FRC, and of course the game is different, so the robot's going to be different and the tactics are going to be different, but overall they're pretty similar. Complexity of course is also different. With like electrical and pneumatics, we don't have access to that in FTC.
Thank you. Barak, would you like to continue?
Yes. So how do you manage this pandemic?
So we worked with our school district because at the beginning at the beginning of the pandemic, we weren't allowed access to our workspace because of safety concerns and everything. So we worked with the school district to develop a plan to safely meet and work in our space. So most of our work is done virtually in meetings, and then we go to our lab and do the physical work there after we've done all our planning.
Before he had access to our lab, some of us, we would never actually physically meet, but if there was any mechanical or I guess physical things that needed doing, we would have just short handoffs. We didn't do a lot of those before the season. I know our sister teams did some of that, but we have mostly relied on kind of grace of our school board to let us back into the lab. But there is a lot that we can do out of the lab, like John said. And there's also been a lot of scouting, like this, for example, and a lot of stuff with other teams, which is a great opportunity that we definitely have, in part thanks to that pandemic.
Great, thanks. Moving on. How does the WiredCats team structure work?
We have our Western has our four main teams, I guess, which is 3 FTC and 1 FRC. And then we also have a middle school FTC team that we sponsor, or I guess mentor rather, and an elementary school FLL team, which some of us also mentor. But usually for the four main teams, when somebody enters the program, they will choose which of the 3 FTC teams they want to join. There may be a bit of a factor, as in we kind of want you to be on this team, so we might assign you to this team. But usually people get their choice of which team they're on because it works out that way most of the time. Once they have joined an FTC team, they usually stay on that team as whatever I guess type of member that they want to be, which is like they could be mostly concerned about scouting or programming or manufacturing or any of that stuff. And if they're good enough at it, then they will probably gradually become, in effect, the lead of that thing for that team over time. But once somebody is recognized by the members of the FRC team as having demonstrated like an ability to act professionally and efficiently enough to be on the FRC team, the leaders of that team will discuss it a bit and decide whether or not that person should join FRC. And each year, each of the teams chooses, well, each of the FTC teams usually chooses 1 to 2, maybe 3 captains at most. And the FRC team chooses 1 or 2 captains and then a bunch of leads. And it's the job of the captain usually to coordinate all of the various members and experts in kind of making something that's decent.
Okay, so I kind of get the idea that you guys are a big team, like compared to other teams that are out there. What are some advantages and disadvantages of like being a big team?
So with a big team, you get a lot of people with a lot of different skills, which is definitely a help, and you can have a lot of different opinions, a lot of different ideas. But it also becomes a challenge when you have like if a whole team shows up to a competition, it could get crowded. We need to make sure that everyone knows what they're doing, so we don't have people just walking around. We usually have a lot of the people go talk to other teams, do scouting, that kind of stuff. So that's helpful. The lab can only really hold so many people, so it has gotten crowded on multiple occasions because it's not just our team, it's the 4 or so other teams. If the middle school decides to show up, then it's a lot of people. So it's really not an issue with too much people, but too little space sometimes. But we definitely do get the advantages of having multiple people with all the different like ideas that go through their heads, the skills that they have, the time that they've been in robotics. It all affects usually positively with what we do. Also helps with our production speed. We can have a whole bunch of people on different tasks, so we usually divvy up the robot into different sections, and we'll have someone in charge of that team, and they have a few people that they lead, and then they get that part of the robot done. We bring it all together, and we can get a robot done pretty quickly.
Well, thanks for that. I think Arda, you'll continue.
Yeah, so what do you look for in a person that wants to join the team?
We don't really, usually we don't focus so much on particular skills like programming or modeling or anything like that. Usually people will just naturally learn those skills over time, especially if they're freshmen to the program. They probably won't already have a grasp of how those things work. And if they aren't freshmen to the program, it's fine, because any skills they already have are still going to be very useful to the program, because robotics it's not just mechanical skills and programming skills. It's also a lot of team coordination and spirit and a lot of design. It's a very varied program in terms of skills, but usually what we look for in a person who wants to join would be, outside of respecting the basic values of FIRST, which would be gracious professionalism and cooperation, and all of the other kind of decency in treating other people kind of things. That's pretty important. Besides that, we usually look for people who both actively want to contribute to a community like this, like people who want to, beyond just kind of building a robot, they want to be part of the kind of the robotics, I don't want to say community again, but that's pretty much what it is, the robotics community. Because a lot of our advantages that we get over other teams comes from the connections between our members and the bonds that we kind of keep over time. So normally what we look for is it's more so based around the ability to work with other people and the internal motivation for wanting to learn constantly, or at the very least wanting to apply what you have learned already.
Okay, so how do you prepare yourself before the competitions?
So we often take the day before the competition, like the whole day, to pack up all the stuff we might need. We prepare for worst case scenario, like if something breaks, we have extra parts. Any tool we might need, we have. We bring stuff that will help in a quick situation, like zip ties, duct tape, glue, that kind of stuff. We load that into our trailer. We have a trailer that we use for solar car and robotics. So we load everything into there. Then that's usually around all that we need. We also bring some tables and stuff, depending on the size of the competition. If it's leagues, then we don't really need to bring any tables. They have the tables there. If it's like states and we have pits, then we bring tables, we bring decorations, tents, that kind of stuff. We like to plan out the decorations and that kind of stuff in advance too. So we aren't rushing to do it the day before we leave because we have to make a longer journey then. It's just a whole bunch of grabbing tools that we might need, parts that we might need, that kind of stuff.
So another question that I had was, what was the biggest challenge you had to face? I mean, both in the preparation phase and during the competition.
So of course we had our challenges with the coronavirus pandemic. We weren't able to physically meet for a while. That slowed down our production because we couldn't work as a team as much, but we got a lot done online through modeling and meetings and that kind of stuff. That was definitely a very big challenge for us, trying to figure out a way that we could still work together as a team without being able to see each other. And then of course we had the problems that are common, like during a competition in our qualifications, our robot might do something we don't expect, like it might lose a screw or something, but we build, fix, repeat, and we try and find ways to safely meet and work while the pandemic is still going on.
So, can you talk about your future dreams about your team, WiredCats Omega?
Well, definitely we always want to see the team grow, and we want to see retention of members and general engagement with our community. We typically, well, before we kind of restructured in the last few years, we typically trained the new members, but now we're kind of just generally, yeah. Okay, so Kai or Wood.
So of course we're aiming for worlds. We always are. It's what we'd like to do, but we're also aiming to grow the team and get more people interested in STEM as a whole, teach more people, help the community in general. That's why we have our middle school teams, our elementary teams, to teach the younger kids and get them interested in STEM, shoot for the moon,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
go for the stars.
yeah, like they said, it would be nice to, win the entire tournament or to kind of judge our success based off of how far we can get. And we definitely do, obviously. Like getting to states each year that we do is an accomplishment for us. But most of our effort and most of our focus goes into kind of the people in the program and what we can help them learn over time. Because generally, if we focus on that, we will at least get better over the years. Even if we, as good as we like to think we are, we will not probably make it past states. And that's just kind of something we have to understand. But I think that we can still do a lot without doing that.
Okay, so we are actually done with our questions, but I would just like to ask, like, if you wanted to give a piece of advice for the FTC teams out there, or like, would you like to add anything in general?
So a piece of advice I would have is, it was a big issue we had this year was communication. Always make sure to communicate with your members and relay information.
Yeah, that is probably the most important thing that we've learned is the two most important things for running a team are communicating with people and coordinating with them. Because if people don't know what they're doing, or if they know what they're doing but nobody else does, then it's just going to kind of end up being not a train wreck, but you can do better.
Yeah, it may seem like a simple thing, but it's definitely very important and can make or break a team.
Right then. That was all we had for today. Thank you, WiredCats Omega, and thank you to my dear co-hosts. Don't forget to follow on their platforms. If you'd like to shout your platforms out, like Instagram and whatnot, go ahead.
You wanted us to say our platforms?
Yeah.
All right, let me grab them real quick. I know our Instagram is, John, correct me on this, is it WiredCats Omega? It might be.
I'm pretty sure it is just WiredCats Omega.
But we do have our other teams also on Instagram. Like we have 1002's instead. Oh wait, we have WHS WiredCats Gen 3 for our sister team to do. We also have a few other WiredCats accounts, but those are usually the two that get used the most on Instagram. And I believe that is that the only social media that you think we should shout out as? I believe that's all we currently have at the very least.
Yeah, we have a Twitter, a YouTube, and an Instagram, and then the other teams have theirs. That's all I think we have. And then we have the website.
Oh yeah, the website.
TheWiredCats.com. Check it out.
Yeah, most of our social media and information can be found on our website at thewiredcats.com.
All right, then. I'd like to thank you guys again. And that has been another episode of Family Around the World. We'll see you later. Stay safe.
Have a great day, y'all.
You too. Take care, man.
Bye. Have a great day.
You too, guys. Have a great one.